Salsa on Clave is from Dominican Republic, asked, what do you think about salsa teachers that teach from the clave and not so much the numbers? Teachers have a wide variety of tools at their disposal. You're not limited to counting everything out 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. You could be a teacher who makes a lot of sounds as a way to reference what it is that you want students to do and students to connect with. I remember I used to take this African dance class in New York a few summer before COVID, and that teacher, I don't remember him counting anything. Actually, he was like ba ba beep bop ba ba beep bop, just making sounds, but the sounds connected. That is exactly what we wanted to connect with, what he wanted us to connect with, and that's how we taught it, and it actually worked. So not a single count was brought into that class setting ever of all the classes that I took with him. Teachers that teach on the clave, if that is what they want to emphasize, then by all means, if that's working for you and working mainly for your students, then use the approach that works. For the teachers, sometimes we learn a certain way. Maybe we learn from a teacher who is teaching specifically on the clave, and as a result, we think that that's how we need to teach. If you are an instructor, your goal is not to just dispel information. Your goal is to be understood and to elevate your students. So if you are using an approach that worked for you and you're thinking, okay, fantastic, this worked really well for me. Look at how much I've learned and how much I've grown. I'm going to use the same approach for students when I start teaching. And you notice that they are not improving at the same rate that you did, then you want to stop and take a look at what you're doing and how you're doing it and adjust it accordingly. So I am not for or against a certain method of teaching or a certain approach to teaching. As long as it's benefiting your students and you're seeing growth in your students, then that is ultimately all that matters. And as far as getting students closer to the culture, I like your follow-up there. He asked this question because in his experience, learning with the clave gets the students closer to the culture. Again, we got to take it back to your students and what is their desire? Are they trying to get closer to the culture and to understand all of the roots and all of that? Or are they just trying to get on the dance floor? Because if they're just trying to get on the dance floor, they might not need or want all of that extra detail. I will speak for myself. I've been in this industry for 23 years, over 23 years now, and I don't have that much knowledge about the Afro-Cuban elements of this dance. The dances of Yemaya and Chango and all of these things. I can kind of know the names, but I cannot identify the rhythmical patterns. I don't have that understanding of this dance. And frankly, it doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't add to the dance that I want to have and the dance that I want to teach. And so I have not spent time to learn that. So some people might say, oh, well, you're a dancer, you should know everything. And I'm like, well, no, I am working on developing my understanding and my depth of knowledge for the things that I want to share and the things that bring me joy and the things that I know I can practice. So for me, where am I going to practice all of those other details that are a deeper cultural understanding of the dance? I don't see an environment for myself. I'm only going to socials, like even performances. Those performances, I was playing with a lot of different things. And so it really does depend on what your student wants. Like I strongly encourage instructors to bring everything that you have in your mind and your experiences and the lessons you've learned to the classroom to instruct your students. But be aware that not every student has the same goals and desires as you. And likewise, they are not going to approach it with the same intensity that you might have. And back to speaking to my own experience, I have a desire to break down fundamentals in a way that allows me to do as much as I want with the music and with my partner and with my body. That's my goal. That has been my goal. And that is what I see importance in. Right now, do other people care to learn all of that? they might appreciate what I do. They might say, wow, I love the way Magna dances, or, she's so much fun. I wish I could dance like that. But most of the time when we say, I wish I could do something, it's not really a wish, because most of the time we have those tools at our disposal. If we really wished to do something, there are steps that we can take to do that thing. But we don't want to do it. Like, there's a desire, there's an interest, there's an inspiration, but there's not a drive, or there's no push to actually take the actions required to be able to have those skills. And so I understand that, that not everyone who appreciates what I do wants to learn to do that or wants to put in the work, because ultimately a lot of those things are effort, they're in time. You have to all of a sudden break down everything that you've known and that you've learned and say, how could I reframe this? How would I approach this differently? Have I been doing things the right way all of this time, or do I need to change? And that's an ego, a hit to your ego too. So going back to what you had asked, ultimately, it's really got to depend on your students and what is it that they want, what is their goal in dance, what are they trying to achieve for themselves, and then instruct according to that. You have a lot of information, you have a lot of knowledge, but not everything is going to be applicable to everybody. And so you have to be able to pick and choose what you're offering based on what you can deliver, based on what their desire is, what they're looking to learn and improve upon. Do teaching instruments in a class help grow students as a dancer? I'm going to revert back to what I had said before. It ultimately depends on the goal of the dancer. I think exposing students is great, because, maybe they don't know, right? Maybe they have no idea of, I've only learned it with a count, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. And all of a sudden, now someone's actually playing the instrumentation and I can see it. And now I'm exposed to this a new piece of information. And then I get to decide whether that's something I want to pursue or not. So I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with that. But again, check your students, right? If you start bringing instruments into class and you see that the students are not receptive to it, or they don't understand it, or they're still struggling with their basic and the timing, then maybe now is not the time to introduce them. Maybe you bring them in later, or you have a specialty workshop that is specifically focused on the instrumentation itself. Like, I have classes where I'm teaching fundamentals and technique. Then I have other workshops that are musicality focused. People that come to that class have a desire to learn that. And so I know that I'm working with the right audience and I'm delivering the right information, and it's going to be received well, because that is their purpose. It's not everybody's purpose.